Welcome to another edition of Talent Bytes. I'm really excited today to be joined with the co-founder of Talent Llama, a really exciting organization. Hi, Adam. It'd be really good to hear a little bit more about you, and then I've got three quick-fire questions for you before we dive into your product.
Well, hey Jess, yeah, thanks for having me. So as you said, I am Adam, the co-founder and CEO of Talent Llama. We're leading the charge in transforming the talent streaming process with AI-driven solutions. And I'm a software engineer. I've built a few different SaaS web applications over my career, and stumbled into HR with my current co-founder Ben, and we're both outsiders, but we've both hired a ton of people and found this problem and have just dove in headfirst, trying to build a solution for it.
That's great, and I think that's a really interesting one because to start your business around a genuine problem and a need is brilliant because you kind of know there's going to be a lot of people receptive to listening to, hey, how can this problem be solved in my world? So it would be really good to hear then about what that problem is that you're trying to solve with a product and a little bit more about how Talent Llama works.
Sure. Yeah. So for any TA people out there, recruiters, hiring managers, we live in a world where a lot of the jobs we post just get tons of applications. And a lot of time those applications might be spam, but there are good candidates in those big streams that we're getting inbound. And what we realized is reviewing resumes and trying to make a decision based on a resume is pretty much a complete waste of time. So one reason being people can put whatever they want in a resume and an application. It's very easy to fake. But the other thing is sometimes people have experience that doesn't actually represent what they know right now. So what the solution we came up with was you actually have to have a conversation with every single applicant, but we know that doesn't scale with your people doing the work. So we came up with a way to interview and vet people in a really low stress, low stress, low time commitment way to just vet skills up front. Because when we vet skills up front, we realize on both sides, as the applicant, do I want to spend more time with this company? As the company, do I want to spend more time with this applicant? And if we can figure out the requirements matching first, we end up wasting hardly any time in the application process. So you can get rid of resume review and most of your recruiter screening call time, and get a better result at the end of it.
And how does it work? Does your product plug into an existing infrastructure?
Yeah. So we are not an ATS. We are a plugin that you can attach to your ATS hiring workflow. So some companies want to just send everybody a Talent Llama interview as the very first step. That's the approach we would recommend. But we're also working with third-party staffing agencies that want to just get to know the candidate better without having to do a 30-minute phone call and schedule that. They just say, hey, here's the link, take it when you want, and this is going to help me get to know you better and present you better as a candidate. So you can use it at any step in the process. You can use it, for in-house recruiting versus third-party staffing. It's really flexible in how it plugs into these different tools.
And is there a specific kind of hiring that you target? Is it sort of high volume, or do you also do niche?
Yeah. High volume, early stage careers, remote roles. Those tend to have the most inbound volume, and companies usually have a lot of those roles to fill. So we found a great fit there. But again, it's also just a skills vetting system. So even if you have 10 candidates a month, it still could be a better way for you to vet someone's skills, unless your recruiters are experts in the subject matter they're interviewing for, which sometimes they are. But if they're not, you're kind of offloading a lot of that expertise to the AI. And then the recruiters are spending more time just with that face-to-face interaction. And will this person fit on the team? And can they look at me in the eye and talk? And those kind of things, which I still highly recommend doing before you hire someone and needs to be a step in your process. We don't want to completely outsource these decisions to AI, obviously. So you need a human in the loop, but the idea is that human's not wasting their time reading through resumes and going back and forth scheduling calls with people that might not be qualified.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. And I've got one other question, and it'd be really cool to see the product. Where are you going to take it? What is the plan longer term for Talent Llama? As the kind of industry changes, we see more and more kind of tools that are looking to kind of automate where possible and introduce AI.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to hear the word agentic a
Yeah,
lot, but it's really just a fancy word for better automation, in my opinion. As an engineer, we've had automation and computers doing things for us for 30, 40 years at this point. The difference is like what they can do for you and how much more they can do for you. So, before just
building it more.
before just putting an interview online and giving someone the ability to take it was adding new automation to a workflow. It made it faster. But now we've realized it's not just like putting an interview online. It's inviting people. It's personalizing the questions. It's like transcribing the entire interview for you. It's evaluating the responses using expertise and information. So all those things are getting packaged in to a single product, a single automation setup, like a single campaign. And that's just going to keep so there's just going to be more and more you can do until eventually your campaign is going to be, you type into a prompt, I need a salesperson, and then one pops up, a qualified,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. It
that's
just
it.
does the whole
So,
thing, right? It
yeah,
orchestrates
so
the whole
so
thing. Yeah,
all that kind of automation keeps getting kind of packaged in more and more and more until eventually it's just going to do almost everything. How long is it going to be until we get there? That's debatable. I mean, some
yeah,
people say like 2 years, some people say 50 years. Every company has different systems that they're using currently and how fast they can change and do change management. All of that's going to factor in to eventually getting to those systems. And, it could take really long too. I think a lot of people aren't, trustworthy of it yet, and it's going to take time. But, it's also kind of moving faster than, let's say, like, in the early 2000s, the internet came out and people just like, there were all these web applications and apps being released. That was really fast and there was a lot of innovation. I think with AI, it's going to be even faster
yeah.
in terms of like the new types of services and products that you're going to see.
Yeah, and I think particularly in this kind of industry as well, right? Because it's just so ripe
Mm-hmm.
for parts of it. Great. Well, listen, I would love to see the product. So please, over to you to walk us through a bit of a demo of Talent Llama.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, we love doing these kind of like on the spot demos here. So let me share my screen.
Yeah, I think just for the audience, I have not fed Adam any details on this until about 1 minute before the call, so this really is an on-the-spot demo showing the power of the product.
Yeah. So the other thing that when you asked like where we're taking the tool, so Ben and I, my co-founder, we've built a lot of enterprise software, and the number one most important thing is that it's just so easy. It has to be easy for everybody involved to use, right? And minimize clicks and show the right information and make the integrations easy. So we really put a lot of effort into that part of it, along with AI and making sure you have access to all that intelligence as well. So we just grabbed this is a random job we've picked here, the sales solution manager, and I'm just going to copy this. Talent Llama works standalone without an ATS integration if you want, but we also we do integrate with a handful of ATSs, which can really streamline the process as well. So I'll just copy this, and we're going to jump back to Talent Llama. All right, so I just clicked new campaign here. You'll see we have Ashby. We have a couple other integrations that we've released, so you can always import your job from there if you want. But for now, we'll just paste in what I copied from your job. So the llama is going to do its thing and do a little dance here. It's going to extract all the key information from that job. So we're going to look for the job title. We're going to look for years of experience. There's an about the job section. So you can, anything that you want our system to be able to answer questions about that the candidate might ask, you can put in here just to give some additional context whether that be salary, benefits, culture, team size, anything that they might ask, you can throw in there. And then we're going to move on to the most important part of the setup. So this is our interview outline. The way the Talent Llama interview works is you're just going to go step by step through each of these topics until you get to the end. So we have a section, there's two sections of the interview. The first section is minimum qualifications. So these are typically going to be yes, no questions that will help you filter out people that just could not be hired in the first place. So if you require a bachelor's degree or at least a year of experience or anything like that, you can build that into your interview. So the benefits of that are, one, when people are speaking answers, they're less likely to lie when they know they're kind of like doing a recording and submitting something versus like a checkbox on an application form. That's a lot easier just to kind of fake and go. So that's one reason. The other reason is you can actually get rid of a lot of your resume screening tools if you do it this way instead. So the resume screening tools out there will kind of try to pull this information out for you sometimes. But it's always best to just ask the candidate and have that kind of as part of the initial setup. So if they don't make it past these initial questions, we'll politely take them to the end of the interview. And then we don't charge customers if you don't pass the minimum qualifications. Now, if you do pass and everything is good, then you're going to go into the interview topics. So we have a few different types of topics you can set up. So the first one is an open-ended topic. That's just going to be a question: what inspires you to achieve sales success? And then each of these other topics are competency topics. So competency topics allow you just to put in the requirements of, client acquisition mastery, relationship building. You don't have to come up with questions. We will generate questions based on the candidate's resume and the requirements that you put in here. So this is like a different way of thinking about setting up interviews. You're not actually coming up with questions. You're just thinking about what does the hiring manager need my candidates to do? And you plug it in that way. Cool. So yeah, once you're kind of, you have this thing ready to go, you can drag and drop and move things around. I'm just going to show a few questions here. We're not going to go through the whole interview. And yeah, we'll set all that up however we want and save. The next step is to import applicants. So if I'm connected to an ATS, we just have Ashby here for this demo account. All I would do is connect it to the stage that I want Talent Llama to trigger an invitation for. So as a candidate moves into this stage, they'll be pushed into Talent Llama. We will send them an email invitation, and then they just click it and take the interview. So all you're doing is moving people into a stage in your ATS, and then the Talent Llama interview agent takes over from there. And then we'll also push back results to your ATS at the end of the interview. So that's how we keep things in sync if you have an integrated setup.
Great.
All right. So for now, just for this demo, I'm going to upload one of my resumes here, and we'll upload that. So this is what our invitation email would look like. And so one of the big questions we get asked is, will people actually take this interview, or is it going to turn them off? So this email is a big piece of that response rate. So you want to make sure it's customized. We have a personalized opener where we can take the candidate's information, just to see an example. You can plug in, different personalized information from their resume into the email, so it just looks like you did your homework.
And can you brand this, your company brand?
Yep, you can upload other banners and put your colors in as well. We let you. Here's the interview screen, so you can also edit the avatar for the interview. We do SMS invitations. We let you set up a complete message when you're done, and we'll always ask the candidate, how their experience was. So really made this simple to white label, because we know, the candidates aren't going to want questions or emails coming from Talent Llama. They've never heard of us. So putting your branding here really helps that. We also let you customize the email domain that our emails come from. also, again, helping your delivery rate. All right,
that's
so
cool.
this is the branding, and we'll launch that. Just one last confirmation before we start. And now we have a live interview campaign. So let's just go over to applicants. You can see my resume was uploaded. So in this case, I'm just going to copy this link and I'll open it in another tab. Alrighty. So this is now what the candidate would see when they click that invitation link. So they're going to be taken to our main screen. We'll just click continue here. We're going to agree not to cheat. We are doing some cheating prevention and cheat detection in the background. Accept the terms of service. We'll do a quick mic check to make sure we can understand what I'm saying. Brave giraffe. An interesting word choice there, but whatever, it works. Okay, so now we're just going to jump into that interview, and we're going to start off just verifying that it's okay to call me Adam. Our whole system is push to talk, so you can take your time before you answer, and then you'll just do something like this. Yes, Adam is good. Thank you. So we'll do real-time voice transcription, and we're going to use that answer to determine what to do next as the interview goes on. So you'll see it just started out with that minimum qualification question, and I'm going to lie and say that yes, I can travel to London anytime. So yes, that's not a problem for me. All right. So we got past the minimum qualifications, and now we're going to dive into the next part of the interview, which is sales coaching. If we jump back to here, you can see I made sales coaching the first one. So we want to provide effective coaching and guidance to sales and delivery teams, contribute to overall sales team growth and performance. So you can see here, it is not only asking a question related to that, so it's also calling out my relevant experience from my resume. So ClubOS was a previous startup I had. So in your role as the founder and CTO, CEO of ClubOS, how do you provide effective coaching and guidance to your sales and delivery teams to enhance their performance and growth? So that's the question we got out of that just by defining the requirements. Now, let's see what happens when I give it kind of a vague, non-answer, but buzzwordy answer. So yeah, I would just meet with each of my sales account executives, ask them how they were doing, and help them with anything they needed. So kind of generic, not non-answer. Most questionnaires or one-way interviews would just take that answer and move on to the next question. You really didn't learn anything about the candidate in that case. So we're actually going to push back and follow up on those answers if we deem it not to be a complete response. So you can see here, how did you tailor your coaching approach when working with different sales account executives to address their individual strengths and weaknesses? It's trying to pull out what it's going after and make it easier for the candidate to answer the question. So some people think this is kind of like too easy for the candidate, but we think some people need a few chances to answer to really like explain what they know. And this is an on the spot kind of interview and you're talking, so it's okay to take a couple times to give a full response. So it benefits both sides. You're also not going to let people that don't actually know what they're talking about provide a valid answer without some pushback.
Well, exactly, and I think that's one of the challenges, isn't it, with screening, is that people can get quite far if it's too generic. And one of the biggest pain points we see across clients is that people get through to first stage interview with a busy hiring manager, and if screening hasn't been effective and it's been too generic, you can have a decent percentage that actually immediately the hiring manager's like, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. I don't know how they got through. So I think it is important at the screening stage actually that you, as you say, you can determine who is actually really relevant and who isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, sometimes it's hard to push back on people in person too, when they give you an answer. And it was kind of like, that was like not great, but I get the gist. And so it's really like outsourcing all those like emotions that come up in a call, and just let this thing handle it for you, and get to the bottom line. All right, so let's see. I'll try to give it a little bit better answer here. So I actually had two salespeople. One was great at doing all of the technical sales work, so working in the CRM, making sure all of the data was up to date, making sure they did their follow-ups, but they were really nervous on the phone when they talked to a real person. So in my one-on-ones with that account executive, I would force them to role play with me and pretend like we were on a real call and give them some coaching and feedback while they were trying to improve that part of their repertoire of skills. So that was a long answer. Good enough now where it's happy and it's just going to move into the next topic. You can also do things, you can also ask clarifying questions. So can you describe a specific strategy you use to identify and pursue new business opportunities that contributed to this growth? So let's see here. Your experience, first enterprise sale. Was there any strategy you wanted me to talk about? So it can handle those kind of like open-ended questions, right? And it'll just keep kind of pointing you back to those requirements that you set up in the initial interview. So hopefully that gives a good gist of how this interview goes. Yeah.
I think it also, one of the discussions we have with clients when we're talking about various tools and automation elements is making sure that we're not becoming too unaccessible for different, types of people. And I think what you're demonstrating there is that like someone may find that question easy to answer and be able to give the right answer immediately. Someone else might be like, I just want to check, I need some clarification, or I haven't quite interpreted that right. And you're making sure that you're not alienating those people who need maybe a little bit more clarification, who could be brilliant,
Yep.
So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. We've tried to like break this thing and give it all the crazy answers. We have a few different agents and analyzing every response, just trying to figure out, all right, do they need help? Do they need a follow-up question? Or you can also do things like I'm about to do, where you can say, hey, I'm not feeling so well. Can we just end the interview? So it really should be like talking to a real person, and the responses you get should feel like it's coming from a real person. So you can see here, we always end the interview and we ask for any final thoughts or feedback. What's the salary for the position? So you can see here, it's pulling that from the about the job, so up to 60K pounds, with the possibility of earning a bonus. So just again, what would an initial recruiter screener, what kind of questions might they get? And can we handle those questions up front without needing one of our team members to do it? Nope, I'm okay. So we'll finish the interview. And we give you a little confetti. We're going to ask how your experience was. And, this is also great just as the hiring team to keep tabs on like how are applicants feeling about this process, right? Everyone kind of has that question mark of, well, will my applicants take this or not? And we really want to be transparent with all that information so you can see it. So let's jump back to here. You'll see now we have our first result. So I didn't do so well. These scores are out of 10. So you can see here, I got a 1.6 out of 10. So we get an overall summary of how I did. Positives, potential concerns. We have a language score here. So this is going to assess how well they put sentences together and their grammar quality. You'll see you have the minimum qualifications all vetted. And then here is really the most important part, which is every one of those topics gets its own evaluation and score. And you can also jump in and look at the whole transcript if you want. So we have all my answers here. You can listen to the audio. Was there any strategy you wanted me to talk about? It's always eye-opening to hear your own voice. And, so you can kind of imagine starting with something like this. We also give you recommended next steps where you can dig in further to different areas that may not have been explored, or, based on their previous experience, you can do all that stuff. So yeah, it's a really nice kind of starting point compared to a pile of resumes, right? Where you really have no
Yeah.
idea who's who.
And Adam, what does it look like in the ATS then? Do they get this whole thing, or is it like a summary, or what's the?
Yeah, let me just jump over. So this is one of our customers that lets us share some of their results here. So I just want to show you, there's a live one. So they just started interviewing for this position again. So you can see here, as this thing starts heating up, you get some really good data to look at.
Mm-hmm.
You'll also be able to filter by whatever you want. So let's say you only want to see the top 10%, and you want to only see really good language scores. Now I have this short list of people, right? And I can just go through. Here's how the integrated version looks. So this company has an integration set up.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll always have a link back to the candidate profile. You can change the stage from here, right? So you can make your decisions right in here and just move through. To answer your question, though, we will push back this entire page. So the full summary with all the evaluations and scores, as well as the next steps.
Okay. And then if they wanted more information, they jump back to Talent Llama.
And then there's always a link back to the Talent Llama evaluation that we push to the ATS as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see at scale, this thing really, this was one of our biggest campaigns. So we had 1,200 applicants, 877 responses, and it's just a plethora of information. And I think this company has hired over 50 people with this position. So once you get it plugged in, once you get it plugged in, it's super powerful. We also just released these analytics, so you can look at the scores and how people are doing. You can keep track of your applicant ratings and make sure you're getting 5 stars most of the time. Average time to start the interview, average time to complete the interview. So we want to make sure it's very clear how it's going in the system and you have full visibility. And that's something else important to look for in all these AI tools. It's not just about doing the work for you. You have to know what's going on inside, right? It can't just be a black box.
No, exactly. And actually, that's exactly what we get in terms of, challenge or feedback is we want to understand how is it making that decision, or how is it coming to that as a conclusion. And I guess actually that was my follow-up question to you around how does the tool, it's obviously learning a lot from putting in the job description and additional information, but presumably for some slightly more generic roles, or similar roles like a customer service or a sales, whatever.
Yeah.
It knows kind of what it's looking for, and it knows how to grade somebody. It's a 9 versus a 7. What about for more technical roles where it's a little bit harder to interpret?
It's actually the more technical and specific your requirements, the harder the grading becomes. So
right, okay.
It still works for those roles, but what we see is sometimes the best score might be an 8 or a 7, whereas in a sales role you'll probably get 9s and 9.5s, and it just comes down to how specific your requirements are. So we work with our customers to kind of tweak these things, and that's really where the fine tuning comes into play. Is this are these questions hard enough, right? And are we getting the right evaluation that we want? So defining these requirements and being really specific about what you want it is a big driver in getting an accurate evaluation and assessment, right?
Right.
If you make these really vague, everyone's going to get a good score. If it's tell me about a time you closed a deal, right? Something like that. Or you have to be able to close a deal. That's too vague. You want to be able to say what were the different processes you used throughout the different phases of the deal, and potentially even break out each phase into its own topic. So just thinking about how to build these interviews, this is where we want our customers spending time and not like sifting through resumes, right? And just
Yeah,
thinking about
yeah,
how to free
exactly.
people, you know?
Yeah, free people up.
And then you set it up and kind of, I hate to use that cliche, but it's kind of like set it and forget it. So there's a little bit of upfront work getting the interview right, and then once it's right, you just let it go. And it's just amazing how much time and effort it saves in finding good candidates.
Great. Thank you so much, Adam. That's been a really interesting demo and definitely food for thought. So thank you for sharing with us.
Oh, happy to. My pleasure.